Hi, I'm Katie from literacylearn.com, and I am a structured literacy dyslexia specialist. Today, we're going to be talking about closed syllable exceptions. These are sometimes referred to as wild old words or maybe kind old words. We'll talk about what these exceptions are, why they're important, and some teaching tips to help you teach your students confidently. So let's learn about closed syllable exceptions now. So before we talk about the exceptions, you need to know what a closed syllable is. These are the most common syllable types in our English language, comprising about 70% of all syllables in our English words. So a closed syllable is a syllable that ends with one or more consonants. And so since it ends with one or more consonants, the vowel letter is closed in, and that means that the vowel is going to be short. The vowel will represent a short sound. So I like to teach jingles to my students. I teach them closed syllable, short sound. Closed syllable, short sound, and we kind of pound it on our desks. So let's look at some closed syllable example words, right? And you're going to hear short vowel sounds in all of these words. Man, cliff, hat, hush, lodge, camp. These are all closed syllable words. So now here's where we get to go into what the exceptions are, right? We learned closed syllable, short sound. Well, in certain letter sequences, they're going to include long vowel sounds, even though they're closed syllables. So these are the letter sequences that you need to be familiar with. ILD, where you're going to hear the I very clearly, that I sound, ILD. IND is going to say I, IND. OLD is going to say O, that long O sound, old. OLT, old. OST, ost. And OLL, ol. So these specific letter sequences include long vowel sounds, but they're still closed syllables. So these are the exceptions. So let's look at some examples, right? We have ild. We have words like wild, mild, and child. For ind, we have mind, find, blind. For old, we have mold, told, cold. For olt, we have bolt, colt, and jolt. For ost, we have most, host, and post. And for ol, we have roll, pole, and troll. So you can clearly hear those long vowel sounds within these closed syllables. Now, there are exceptions to the exceptions. There's words like cost, lost, frost, and wind. These actually are closed syllables that have those short sounds. So there's even exceptions to the exceptions. So why do we need to teach this? Well, first, it prevents confusion, right? If students are taught that closed syllables have short vowel sounds, then they may make errors when they're reading or when they are spelling. If they see a word K-I-N-D and they see that N-D closing in the vowel sound, they may read it kind instead of kind. Or they may spell gold, Goald. Knowing this helps prevent confusion. It also builds flexibility. When we are teaching kids about closed syllable exceptions, they learn that certain patterns result in different vowel sounds. And this helps them know that it is okay and should be encouraged that they should be flexing those vowel sounds as they decode unknown words. Also, there's no memorization needed, right? So instead of relying on memorizing a list of words for reading or spelling, kids can simply apply the knowledge of these particular closed syllable exception word families that have long vowel sounds. And then finally, it connects phonics to etymology, right? So whenever possible, we want to teach kids that English is not random or illogical. Okay, when you introduce closed syllable exceptions, you can almost give kids this brief history lesson. You can explain that these actually are old words. They're fossils of very old Anglo-Saxon words. And even when pronunciations changed over the last few hundred years, the spellings remain the same. And I like to explain it like the spellings were etched in stone, which is actually our dictionaries, right? And that's why we call them fossils. Just like fossils are etched in stone, the spellings of these old words are in our dictionaries, even though we pronounce them differently. So that's why we want to teach kids closed syllable exceptions. Here are some practical strategies that you can start implementing ASAP in your classroom to help kids understand closed syllable exceptions. First, as with many concepts, sound boxes are amazing. So you can use this for encoding practice, but also to build their orthographic memory. So you want to dictate words to your students, have them practice spelling. The long vowel sound, that's going to be represented just with a single vowel digraph. So if they hear the I sound in the middle of the word kind, they're going to spell it with a single letter I. Decodables, again, an excellent resource to use with any concept. You want to read decodable sentences and stories that include a lot of these words that follow the patterns. Using word ladders to build awareness of these letter sequences, these chunks of words, using word sorts to separate words and sort words by their vowel sound, short or long. It reinforces the long vowel sounds that they're going to hear in these closed syllable exception words. And then also feel free to use anchor charts to display to reinforce these concepts with your students. So now you know what closed syllable exceptions are, and you have some good teaching tips and strategies to use to help your students learn all about them. All right, thank you for joining me today, and I hope to see you back soon with another PD and Pieces. Bye-bye.